Someone says, "You look great today," and instead of a simple "thank you," what comes back is almost an argument. "Oh, this old thing, I haven't even showered." A compliment lands, and the first instinct isn't to receive it, it's to dismantle it quietly before it has the chance to sit there too long. You might know this reflex. Praise arrives, and your hands are already moving to deflect it, pointing out the flaw the other person missed, redirecting credit somewhere else, laughing it off like it was a joke rather than a genuine observation about you. It can look like modesty, like humility even, the polite thing to do, but underneath it is usually something quieter and less comfortable. A sense that being seen this clearly, this kindly, doesn't quite match what you privately believe to be true. Picture someone at a small gathering, just finished giving a presentation at work, now standing near the snack table while a colleague walks over. "That was really good. You explained that so clearly. Way better than I could have." Watch what happens in real time. A half second of stillness. Barely noticeable, just a flicker, before the response arrives. "Oh, I don't know. I think I rushed the middle part." "You probably could have done it in half the time." The colleague tries again. "No, seriously, I learned something." And this person, almost on reflex now, redirects once more. "Well, the slides really did most of the work. I just read them out loud." By the third deflection, the colleague gives up, laughs, and changes the subject. And this person stands there a moment after, holding a paper plate, replaying the presentation in their head. Not the parts that went well, but the one slide they fumbled, already certain that's the part everyone actually remembers. That reflex to deflect rarely starts with the compliment itself. It usually starts somewhere much earlier with what happened the last time praise showed up. For some, it began in a home where praise was rare, conditional, or quickly followed by a correction, where good grades got a great, now bring up the other subject too, and a finished chore got measured against the one thing still undone. Children raised this way learn that recognition is never really finished. There's always a next bar, just out of reach. And pausing to enjoy the current one feels almost dangerous, like missing the next demand. For others, it grew out of being praised in ways that didn't feel safe, attention that came with strings attached, or praise used to set someone up for comparison against a sibling or peer. In rooms like that, being singled out for something good could mean becoming a target, not a celebration. Deflecting the spotlight became a way to stay out of the blast radius. There's a quieter version too. People who simply learned, somewhere along the way, that their own self-assessment was the only one they could trust. If you believe you know your flaws better than anyone, an outside compliment doesn't feel like new information. It feels like someone working with incomplete data, and correcting them can feel oddly like honesty. Picture someone getting ready in the morning, glancing at themselves in the mirror before heading out. A partner walks by, pauses, and says simply, "You look really nice today." There's a beat. Then, "Really? I feel like this shirt is kind of wrinkled." Already tugging at the hem, already searching the outfit for the flaw that would make the compliment make sense. That would explain why someone would say something so generous about them specifically. The partner shrugs. "I just think you look nice." And this person nods, says thanks. But you can watch it not quite land. The compliment seems to bounce off something, never settling anywhere. Gone almost as fast as it arrived. They leave for the day having received the words, but not actually taken in what they meant. By lunchtime, they won't remember it happened at all, but they'll remember, with total clarity, the one comment a stranger made about their parking job in the lot outside. This pattern rarely looks like low self-esteem from the outside. Often it just looks like someone being self-deprecating, or humble, or not really a compliment person. It looks like immediately returning a compliment instead of accepting it. "You look great" met instantly with "No, you look great," before the first ones even had a chance to land. It looks like laughing right after someone says something genuinely kind. A small nervous sound that breaks the moment before it can get too sincere. It looks like explaining away achievements in real time. "I got lucky. Anyone could have done it. It really wasn't that hard, even when the evidence plainly says otherwise." It looks like remembering criticism in vivid, specific detail. Exact wording, exact tone, while praise from the same week dissolves into something vague and forgettable within hours. And it can look like discomfort that shows up physically. Shifting weight from foot to foot, breaking eye contact, suddenly needing to busy your hands with something, the second a compliment is delivered directly and sincerely face to face. Here's the quiet cost of constantly deflecting compliments. Eventually, the people offering them either stop trying or start offering them more carefully, more sparingly, sensing, without being told outright, that genuine praise makes you uncomfortable rather than glad. Picture a relationship where this happens for years. One partner learns slowly, not to compliment too directly, too often, not out of withholding, but because every attempt gets waved away or argued with. Over time, an entire category of connection, being told plainly that you're loved, admired, well done, quietly shrinks, not because anyone stopped feeling it, but because expressing it kept hitting a wall and bouncing back. There's a cost to your own sense of yourself, too. Maybe the steepest one. If every kind word gets filtered out at the door and only the critical ones get let in and stored, your internal picture of yourself ends up built almost entirely out of your worst moments. A self-portrait painted using only the harshest brush in the box, while every gentler color got refused before it could touch the canvas. And there's a particular kind of loneliness in that, being surrounded by people who see good things in you, while privately believing none of them are seeing the real version. You can be loved out loud, regularly, by multiple people, and still feel quietly unconvinced because you've trained yourself, compliment by compliment, not to let any of it actually in. The goal isn't to suddenly believe every compliment fully and completely. That kind of overnight shift isn't realistic, and it isn't necessary. The real goal is smaller. Noticing the reflex to deflect, and pausing just long enough to let one word through before the correction kicks in. It starts with a small private rule. Just say thank you first. Not thank you, but not thank you, although. Just the two words, said plainly, even if everything in you wants to immediately undercut them. The explaining can come later if it has to. The thank you comes first. Picture trying it once, in a low-stakes version of that same office. A colleague says, "Great presentation," and instead of redirecting, you let yourself simply say, "Thanks, I'm glad it landed." Nothing more. No follow-up qualifier, just a sentence that receives the compliment instead of returning it like an unwanted gift. Notice what happens after. The colleague doesn't push further, doesn't seem confused, doesn't think less of you for accepting something kind. They just smile and move on. Because accepting praise gracefully was never actually the strange or arrogant thing it felt like. That feeling was only ever happening on your side of the conversation. And maybe the most important thing to understand is this. Deflecting compliments was never proof that you were humble. It was proof that somewhere along the way, you learned good things said about you couldn't be fully trusted. You don't have to keep correcting people who see something good in you. You're allowed to let it in exactly as it was offered.